Hi class, today we will cover the design philosophies used in structural engineering, including ASD or the allowable strength design, and LRFD or the load and resistance factor design. In structural design, our main goal is to make sure the required strength does not exceed the available strength. In simple terms, what we ask a structure to handle should not be more than what it's capable of handling. So, ibig sabihin, dapat hindi lalampas din sa capacity ng structural member mo yung kakargahin or bubuhatin niyang load. So, there are several design philosophies that help us achieve this. So, let's go over them one by one, starting with allowable strength design or ASD. So, historically, ito yung pinakaunang ginamit na design philosophies. So, after that, we'll move to LRFD, which is the more modern approach. So, ASD is called elastic or working stress design. So, the main idea is simple. So, we make sure that the applied load effects like axial, bending, or shear do not exceed the allowable strength of the member. So the formula is required strength is less than or equal to the allowable strength. Now, paano kinukuha yung allowable strength? So allowable strength is equal to nominal strength over the safety factor. So basically, we reduce the material strength by dividing it with safety factor. So example, we have if a steel bar has a nominal strength niya is 200 kilonewton. And the safety factor is 2, then the allowable strength is only 100 kilonewton. So, even though kaya niya buhatin yung 200 kilonewton, we only allow 100 kilonewton to be safe. Think of a plastic chair. Alam mo na kaya niyang buhatin ang 100 kilos, pero dahil gusto mong safe, you only allow 50 kilos, so that's ASD. You limit the strength that you allow in the design. Now, let's go to LRFD, which is more modern. The philosophy here is different. Instead of just reducing strength, we do two adjustments. One is we increase the loads using load factors. So, ito po yung binubuhat ng steel member mo. Then, secondly is we reduce the strength using a resistance factor or siyang capacity ng structural member mo. So, the formula is factored load is less than or equal to factored strength. So, yung factored load po, meron din tayong kailangan nga i-increase yung factored load using ng load factors. So, service load times load factor. So, load factor. While yung factored strength mo naman is equal to nominal strength times the resistance factor. Yan. So, example. The example natin, meron tayong service load. So, yung service load mo is equal to 10 kilonewton. Pero sa totoong buhay, minsan mas mabigat ang actual load kaysa sa design assumption. Kaya sa LRFD, we say, okay, let's assume mas mabigat siya, multiply by 1.5. Kaya yung 1.5 is the load factors or load factor 1.5. So, ang ginagawa po, yung loadings natin, minamagnify natin by multiplying with the load factor. So, therefore, yung magiging factored load mo is equal to 15 kilonewton. So, 10 times 1.5 is equal to 15 kilonewton. Then, yung logic dito, classes, we are preparing for the worst case scenario of the load. Next, example yung structure mo, merong nominal strength na 20 kilonewton. Pero sa totoong buhay, baka hindi siya umabot sa full 20 kilonewton dahil sa defects, error sa construction o natural variability. Kaya sa LRFD, we say, okay, let's assume weaker siya. So, multiply by resistance factor equals to 0.9. Yung 0.9 po, siniset po yan ng NSCP na multiplier. Kaya, yung magiging factored strength natin is equal to 18 kilonewton. So, 20 times 0.9 is 18 kilonewton. So, yung logic dito, we are assuming the material is not as strong as its theoretical maximum. Now, we compare factored load versus factored strength. So, the factored load is 15, then the factored strength is 18. So, 15 is less than 18. So, therefore, yung structure mo is safe. So, hindi siya babagsak kasi kahit na minagnify natin yung loadings na kakargahin ng structure mo, then yung structure mo, theoretically, binaba mo yung capacity niya, kaya niya pa rin buhatin yung loadings. So, safe pa rin siya at hindi babagsak. The LRFD method uses load combinations prescribed by building codes. So, if there's no local code, the ASCE 7 standard is used. So, each combination considers different possible scenarios like a mix of dead load, live load, wind, or seismic load, and applies different load factors accordingly to cover uncertainties. So, sabi ko nga, class, gumagamit ng load factor para ma-magnify yung service load. So, pagka yung service load minultiply sa load factor, mag-result yun sa factored load natin. So, ito po yung iba-ibang iba-ibang load factor. So, sa combination 1, ang multiplier natin is 1.4 pagka dead load lang ang present, no? Then, kung meron ng iba-ibang loadings, gaya ng dead load, meron ding live load due to occupancy, or L sub R or the roof live load. So, pwede mong gamitin is yung combination 2 or combination 3 as long as present yung mga loadings dun sa formula. So, kung alin dun sa tatlo yung makakapagbigay na mataas na sagot or load combinations, yun yung gagamitin mo. Then, meron pa pala tayo dito. Hanggang combination 7. The dead load and the earthquake or seismic load. So, kadalasan, yung mga given na service load, pagka sinabing service load, wala pa dyan multiplier na load factor. So, yung mismong loadings na given yung service load, gaya ng dead load, live load, no? So, sa mga problems may encounter nyo madalas is yung combination ng dead load at saka live load. So, yung ginagamit dito na combination is combination 2. So, 1.2 dead load plus 1.6 live load. Yan. So, yung dead load at saka live load dyan, pwede yung unit nila naka kilonewton pagka concentrated load or kilonewton per meter pag yung loadings na given is naka uniformly distributed load. So, depende po. Kilonewton or kilonewton per meter sa mga distributed load. Uniformly distributed load. Then, safety factors and load combinations for ASD naman. So, ito yung formula, no? So, pagka sinabing R sub A, so yan po yung gamit na variable. Pero, sa mga problems natin, ang ginagamit nating variable para sa required strength is P sub A na naka-kilonewton, then is less than or equal to P sub n over omega. So, sa ASD, so madali lang yung sa ASD kasi kailangan lang nating i-reduce yung nominal strength ng material by dividing it by the safety factor omega. So, again, yung R sub A natin is the required strength. Then, yung R sub N is the nominal strength, same as for LRFD, over the safety factor omega. Therefore, ito po yung tinatawag nating allowable strength na nabanggit ko earlier. So, for ASD naman, on the other hand, ASD also uses combinations of service loads but without the load factors seen in LRFD. So, it still considers various load cases and ensures that under all possible service conditions, the structure stays within the allowable strength. So, these combinations also follow the ASCE 7 standard and are compiled in the AISC Steel Construction Manual. So, tingnan nyo na lang po yung combination naman para sa ASD. Pero malamang sa malamang, laging ginagamit dito yung combination 2. So, wala pong multiplier dyan, no? Kasi magkaiba siya dun sa LRFD, which is yung loadings minamagnify. So, dito as is or yung service load yung ginagamit. Hi class, today we're going to talk about tension members in steel design. These are structural elements subjected to axial tensile forces. Ibig sabihin, hinahatak sila, hindi tinutulak. Common examples include truss members, bracing in buildings and bridges, and cables in suspension or cable-stayed bridges. So unlike compression members such as columns na nagbabakal, tension members usually fail by rupture or yielding. Kaya ang design natin focuses on checking their net area and effective strength. Let's define first tension members. So tension members are any structural elements na humahawak ng forces na puro pulling action. For example, the diagonal members of a truss bridge or the cables in a suspension bridge. Ang lakas ng tension members ay largely dependent on its cross-sectional area. So the bigger the area, the more load it can carry. Pero hindi lahat ng tension members safe forever. Let's look at the possible failure modes. First is the yield failure. As per the description, it's stated that the cross section yields, so possibly leading to excessive deformation. Halimbawa, yung tensile mo, no? Yung tensile stress na nararanasan ng ating steel structure, kung di ganun kalakas, maaaring mag-lead lang to sa elongation or humaba lang yung steel member as shown in the figure. Pero once na yung tension member natin is subjected na sa mas malakas ng tensile stress, maaari itong humantong sa rupture. So, napunit na yung steel member mo. So, as shown in the figure below, which means the cross-section through the bolt holes ruptures. So, resulting in a loss of integrity of the structure. Kung mapapansin nyo, naputol siya kung saan located yung bolts kasi mas maliit yung cross-section area sa part na to kung saan dyan natin kinoconsider ang net area. Then we have the block shear. Sa block shear naman, so, the block shear failure, kung saan kadalasan to nangyayari kapag helehelera na ang mga bolts or tornilyo. So, as per the description ng figure, it's stated that the cross-section through the bolt holes fail in a combination of shear and tension. So, shear na sinasabi dyan is yung parallel. Ito yung shear. Parallel dito sa tensile force natin. While on the other hand, yung tension is happening perpendicular. Ito naman yung tension. Perpendicular from the direction ng tensile force, no? So, perpendicular siya. So, para may idea kayo kung ano yung itsura ng block shear sa real life situation or sa mga steel member natin, ito yung nangyayaring failure, no? So, sa una, meron tayong rupture. So, napunit talaga yung steel member mo dun sa bandang may mga kung saan located yung mga tornilyo or yung bolts natin. Kasi maliit lang kasi dyan yung area or yung tinatawag nating net area. Samantala, dito naman po yung block shear, no? Combination siya ng shear and the tensile. So, ito yung shear, yung parallel dun sa direction ng force mo. Then, yung tensile or tension naman, perpendicular siya dun sa line of action ng force mo. Here, I want to emphasize the net area. Net area is equal to area gross minus area whole. Let's say we have the dimension of the plate, 50 by 200 mm. So, para makompute natin yung net area, yung area gross na 200 times 50 kasi rectangular lang naman yung cross-section ng plate natin. Then, subtract mo yung area ng hole. So, let's say yung diameter na given is 25. So, 25 times yung thickness, no? Para maging area siya, which is 50. So, 25 times 50. Then, makikita mo na dalawa yung hole. So, times 2 ka. So, therefore, yung makukompute nating net area sa example is 7,500 mm. So, yan po yung net area na ginagamit natin para makompute yung strength pagka na-encounter natin yung rupture na failure. Here is the NSCP 2015 provision para dun sa hole ng plates natin. So, sa butas ng tornilyo mo. So, sa provision class, so example, we have bolt na merong diameter na 18 mm. Para makompute mo yung net area, gamit yung given na bolt diameter. So, hindi siya yung butas dun sa plate. Yung gagawin mo is, mag-a-add ka ng 2 mm. So, dito sa provision ng NSCP, pag less than 24 yung diameter ng bolt, 2 mm yung ina-add para makompute mo yung standard dimension ng hole. So, equals to 20 mm. So, yan pa lang yung nominal, no? Nominal dimension ng hole. Then, para makompute yung AN, diba, kailangan yung area ng hole. Nag-a-add pa tayo ng 2 para dun sa safety factor. So, 18 plus 2. So, dito magpa-plus ka pa ng 2. So, all in all, yung dimension ng hole is magiging 22 mm. So, ito po yung minomultiply mo dun sa thickness. Let's say, example 50. So, example lang yan. Pero kung lumampas na or equal siya sa 24 mm yung diameter ng bolt mo, ang ina-add na po dyan is 3. So, ayan na. Yung pababa. Yung mga numbers hanggang sa baba. So, example, meron kang 30 mm na bolt diameter or yung mismong diameter ng tornilyo. So, mag-a-add ka na ng 3 kasi nag-exceed na siya sa 24, no? So, magiging 30 plus 3 equals 33 mm. So, that is the nominal hole dimension. But in AN, para ma-compute mo yung area hole, so, kailangan mong i-add pa din yung 2 mm na allowance. So, magiging 35 mm siya. So, yan po yung dimension na. The code states that the effective net area of tension members AE is equal to AN times U. Magkaiba po ang effective area sa net area. So, magkaiba po yan. Ang importante dito, yung value ng U, according to the table 504.3.1, define niya yung shear lag factors for connection. However, the general formula for U, which is nakalagay sa case 2, U is equal to 1 minus X bar over L, na makikita din sa case 5. So, yan po yung general formula. And nandito din sa case 6. To better understand it, let's define first what is shear lag. Shear lag ay ang hindi sabay-sabay na paghila ng buong cross-section ng isang bakal. Kapag ang tension force ay hindi pantay ang pagkakabit, hindi lahat ng bahagi ng bakal ay nakakaramdam ng pwersa. Kaya may mga parte na late sumasama sa paghila. Isipin mo itong example na angle. So, yung isang leg niya nakakabit using the bolt connection. So, kapag hinila mo ito, so, meron kang tension force, sinila yung angle bar mo. Yung gilid ng bolt, ang unang nahihila ito. Ito yung unang nahihila. Yan. Yung magkabilang dulo ay delayed o hindi agad nahihila. So, yung result nito, hindi buo ang lakas na naipapasa sa buong section. So, ang effect nito ay bumababa ang effective area, kaya kailangan na ito i-adjust sa design. Kaya ginagamit natin yung table para makuha yung U or shear lag factor. Kaya ito po yung formula or general formula. So, sa case 2, yun talaga yung gamit na gamit kasi ito yung pinaka-general. Samantala, sa case 5, so ginagamit siya pagka yung section mo is hollow, circular, cross-section. Then, sa case 6, pag hollow, rectangular section. Pero sa case 2, ito yung cross-section mo. Example is wide flange or S-shape. No? Then, so, diba sa formula, kung matatandaan natin, U is equal to 1 minus X bar over L. So, i-define muna natin yung L. So, meron tayong example dito. So, take a look at this figure. Ito yung figure A. Kapag ang connection natin ay by means of bolt, So, ibig sabihin, connected siya by bolt or welds. Ang gagawin nyo lang is kung ano yung center to center distance ng outermost bolts, yun na yung length. So, ito na yung L. No? Then, pagka hele-helera naman yung bolt mo, so example yung figure B, ang pipiliin mong L is yung pinakamahaba na outermost end-to-end or center-to-center distance ng outermost bolt. Then, kung by means of weld naman, yung connection mo, yung L dito, kung magkapareho yung longitudinal length, so tawag dito is longitudinal length. Then, pagka vertical, that is the traverse welds, no? So, this is longitudinal welds. So, longitudinal weld siya, ibig sabihin, parallel siya dun sa direction ng tension force. Then, ito naman, ito is the traverse this is the transverse welds. So, kung yung longitudinal welds mo is pareho yung haba niya, so, isa lang yung L. Pero, in case na yung length ng dalawang longitudinal welds, magkaiba yung haba, so, kukunin mo lang yung average nung dalawa. So, yun na yung magiging L. So, yan na po.